Well, what's going on, folks, and welcome to another episode of Tyler's Real Fishing. Now, today is a video that I didn't think real hard about. I just kind of woke up and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna make this video. And that's not usually how my video planning goes. Usually my videos are very executed and planned to the T, but this time I thought, you know what? I'm gonna show you guys a part of my life that you guys see in almost every single video, but I never really talk about, and that is my truck and boat combo. And of course, if you guys are bass fishermen or even pond fishermen all around the nation, we rely on gear to get our way through the bass fishing season. And the gear for me is my boat and truck. Of course, rods, reels, line, tackle, all that stuff's very important as well. But the truck is what gets me to the lake, and the boat is what gets me around catching fish for you guys on video on the lake as well. And so I wanted to take 1 second just to explain what I've been driving around the past, at least for my truck, the past 7 or 8 years, and the boat the past 7 years. And so I say we get started. And if you are new here, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and the notification bell as well. That way you guys don't miss a single video. Now, of course, if you followed my channel this whole summer, you know that I've been in Canada, Michigan, Minnesota, Iowa. I've been everywhere fishing, and I finally got back to Texas. I'm probably gonna sweat at least 3 gallons during the making of this video, but I wanted to make this video for you guys to show you how I was able to get around the country safe and sound all summer. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the truck that gets me to all my fishing locations, and that is a truck that I bought all by myself, I believe in the 10th or 11th grade, I believe for $10,000 cash, and that is a 2006 Chevy Silverado. I have loved Chevy trucks. I've used other trucks as well, but because I bought this one all myself, all my hard work from the time I was 11 to I think 17, I saved up and spent almost nothing so I could buy myself a nice truck. So I bought this Chevy Silverado. Her name is Big Blue. She's not that big, but it works. But it gets me where I've got to go, and that is to every lake and pond in the entire dang United States. And so I put quite a few miles on this truck. I think when I got it, I had 170,000 miles. Now I have 240,000 miles. So I've added 70,000 miles in, 5 to 6 years, which is, for some of you guys whose dads travel a lot, that's not a whole lot of miles, but I think I put like 8 or 10,000 miles on my truck just this summer alone. So this thing has been all over the place. Recently had the transmission done, has all new tires for this summer. A lot of money has gone into this truck, but it hasn't broken down that often, and I've loved it. And so kind of want to open it up and go inside with you guys. We got a can of Red Bull, we got some headphones, some sunglasses. Of course, every traveling fisherman truck has trash in the back seat. Got my Texas A&M Media Pass. In the back seat, we got a bag of tools that's usually underneath the seats, but because I had a blowout lately, I had to change that. Got some more tools, all sorts of stuff. And of course, in every side pocket, you've got to have a bag of Senkos with you. I got Senkos, I got a top water, I got all sorts of soft plastics that are in that bag just in case I might need them. Now, if you guys haven't seen the video where I made basically the back of my truck into a storage unit, a traveling hotel, and whatever else I made it into, it'll be linked up here in this corner for you guys to watch. It's one of my favorite videos I've ever made about my truck and boat, I guess. But I wanted to take a second to kind of show you guys just why I built the back of my truck into a storage unit the way that I did. So we got a paddle board, we got a cooler, we have tons more space back there for really anything. I can fit rods and reels going diagonally this way. And then on the bottom is where I keep all of my clothes. So I use 2 long bins to basically store all of my clothes for the entire summer. Now, if I'm doing a short traveling trip, so let's say a week or 2 weeks or less, I'm not going to bring 2 of these things. I may not even bring 1 of them. Most likely it's just going to be a duffel bag with clothes, accessories, that kind of thing. But for traveling the country for 4 months out of the year, like I did this summer, it was crazy. I thought, you know what? I'm going to pack everything I can underneath my truck cap. And 2 of these long Tupperware boxes was the easiest way to go in terms of clothing. So this first box here, I have all of my shirts, jackets, shorts, hats, every miscellaneous like small article of clothing. I've got socks, I've got buffs, hoo rags, all that stuff in this one. And then this one's been a little bit discombobulated since I traveled, but this one I have mostly bigger jackets, rain gear, hats, accessories like my hammock, shoes, all sorts of shoes that I have in here. So that's kind of the way that I organize my 2 bins in the back of the boat and the back of the truck. And then underneath both of these, farther back in the truck, I have some more boxes with tools, with extra oil, an extra prop for the boat in case I blow the prop off the engine. But that's kind of how I organize the back of my truck to travel for months at a time. So that is basically all we have for the truck. It is just my little tool that gets me around town and around the world to catch the fish that you guys see on camera. But I do have a few cool accessories I want to share with you guys. The first being TH Marine backup lights. Now these are a 5-block LED system that goes on the both sides of my tailgate that light up the ramp, light up the trail, whatever I'm backing down. That way I'm not going to hit any trees. I'm not going to run Pearl, my bass boat, off the ramp or anybody else's boat. So those are super helpful. Those will be linked below, as well as everything TH Marine that I will explain on the boat. Now the truck doesn't get fantastic fuel mileage. I think I get 12 or 13 on the highway without the boat, maybe 14. I've mentioned 14 or 15 a few times, but pulling a boat, I get about 9.5 or 10.5. So it is not fantastic, but it is better than a lot of the older trucks that my buddies are running. They get 6 to 7 miles per gallon pulling a boat. So that is all we have for the truck. I say we move on to the boat because that is what you guys are really here for. So this is her. This is Pearl, my bass boat. I was super blessed as a child growing up in a household that loved boats. My family loved the lake. I've always had a boat my whole life, whether it's a wakeboard boat, a jet ski, a John boat. I've always been a guy that's on the water, loving watercrafts. And so kind of little backstory if you guys haven't heard the story before, but my dad and I were huge into wakeboarding and wake surfing, and he realized kind of around my 7th or 8th grade year that I was kind of enjoying fishing more than I was wakeboarding, and I still love both activities, but as you guys know, this is a fishing channel, not a wakeboarding channel. And so he decided to sell the wakeboard boat and use half the money that he split with my grandparents to buy a bass boat for the family, and we've loved it ever since. Comment below, I'm not going to tell you guys unless you know, but comment below what year you think this boat is. I'll give you guys a little better look here. Comment below what year model you think this boat is, and I'll reveal it to you guys at the end. So before we hop into the boat to explore the compartments itself, I wanted to kind of show you guys a lot of the accessories that I have on the outside of the boat that make this boat so cool. Now, my first sponsor of all time wasn't a bait company, wasn't a tackle company, wasn't rod or reels, wasn't clothing. It was this company right here, Power Pole. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with what Power Poles do, they are the most revolutionary, in my opinion, fishing accessory you can possibly have on a boat, both freshwater and saltwater. And so what they do, you can probably see from here, is I press a Bluetooth button, it says up or down, and they go all the way up or all the way down. These ones reach down to 8 feet, and they are shallow water hydraulic anchors. I love talking about these things. The Power Poles have helped me so much. It's not just for anchoring yourself when you're trying to fish somewhere. It's for anchoring yourself next to the weigh-in spot so your boat doesn't float away. It's anchoring you next to a dock when it's windy so you can make the most effective pitches possible. Power Pole has changed the way I fish, and I love having 2 white blades to go with the white boat. So Pearl is a Skeeter ZX202. Skeeter is the boat brand, and ZX202 is the model. 202 means 20 feet 2 inches, so it's a very nice sized bass boat. It's not the biggest bass boat you can get. You can get a 21 or a 22 foot bass boat, but I found that a 20 foot is really the best all around bass boat for both small lake fishing and big lake fishing. It takes rough water well, and it goes pretty dang fast. And the reason it goes dang fast is because I have a Yamaha VMAX 225 engine on the back with a brand new prop. And you'll ask, Tyler, why do you have a brand new prop? It's an older boat. Well, you may or may not remember the accident that we had on the highway. Well, folks, going 70 down the highway, our trim stick broke. And there goes the engine for half a mile down the road, scraping on the highway. Oh boy. So the reason that happened is because the hydraulic steering unit that holds the engine up, this little unit in here that basically holds the engine up from gravity. We took that trim unit out to get fixed by some guy in Florida and did not put it back in before we traveled on the highway. Now, we thought the transom saver, this stick that holds the engine secure, was going to be strong enough to hold up the engine without the trim unit. And I guess an older stick that's had plenty of wear and tear was not quite ready for that kind of gravitational pressure. And all of a sudden, going 70 miles down the highway, 70 miles an hour down the highway, I was following my dad, luckily. We weren't in the same truck. I was following him in mine, and he was pulling Pearl in his truck. The stick broke. And going 70 miles an hour down the highway, the engine slammed on the highway, and I saw sparks flying everywhere. I was on the phone with Ronnie Moore, and I was like, oh boy, I got to tell my dad. So I honked at him. He thought that meant go faster, and so I called him, and I was like, you dingus, the engine's running on the highway. Of course, a little more frantic than that, but we stopped, we looked at it, and it was not good for sure. So as you can probably tell from that video, the skeg was almost 3/4 of the way gone, and of course, if you've run a bass boat before, you know that you don't need a skeg to run your engine, but it does help with safety. That way the skeg takes the majority of any hits that a stump or a rock would give. That way your prop doesn't hit them. And so we decided, you know what, we're going to reach out to one of my sponsors, Gator Guard, and get what they call, I believe it's the skeg shield or skeg protector. I'm sorry, Gator Guards, for butchering the name. I haven't looked it up, but it is a sweet aluminum guard that goes on the bottom of your skeg, usually before you wreck your skeg, to keep it protected from any sort of rocks and stumps. But this time, it actually serves as the skeg itself. So what we did is just screwed the 2 bolts into the skeg up here, and now we have a nice artificial skeg that works just as well as before, if not better, because it's actually lighter. So that's pretty neat, thanks Gator Guard. And also one more thing that Gator Guard makes, you guys can check it out below, is called the Keel Shield. This thing has given me so much peace of mind when I'm beaching my boat on rocks, sand, gravel, clay, anything like that. That way I know my boat, the hull itself, is not going to be damaged. And that is this thing down here. It is a hard plastic, I don't know, stick-on accessory that goes way down the hull of the boat all the way up to the top here. And that thing allows me to beach my boat anywhere with the security and peace of mind that my boat is not going to get torn up by any rocks or gravel that without that thing may potentially knock some holes or scrapes into the hull. So with all the accessories out of the way, I say it's time we move inside the boat. So the first thing that we have inside the boat that's one of the most important tools that I use every single day when I'm fishing is my trolling motor. This is a Marine Col Maximum trolling motor. It's the exact same one that came on the boat when we got it. Now, I know the Ultrex is an incredible trolling motor. I don't have it yet. It costs, what, $3,000, but I will be getting it soon, whether it's on this boat or a new boat. And so the trolling motor basically, if I can show you guys, on the TH Marine handle here, all you gotta do is pull it up. Oh, the strap's on, whatever. You pull it up, and then I use the pedal down here to let myself go wherever I wanna go, whether it's around a dock, offshore. The trolling motor, quite often, I mean, in most cases, it's actually more important than the big motor. Sure, the big motor can get you places, but without a trolling motor, you are stuck at the mercy of the wind and the waves to go where they want you to go. And so the trolling motor is very important. Now, second most important are electronics. The two electronics that I have on the boat are not the greatest electronics, but they've gotten me by and had some pretty dang good finishes in college tournaments. And that is two Lowrance units. This is a Lowrance Elite 7 Chirp. Basically just shows side scan. I think it has a little bit of down scan, some sonar. The mapping isn't great, but it gets me done what I need done on the front of the boat. And then on the back is a Lowrance HDS 9 touchscreen unit. Again, nothing super special about this, but I love having a touchscreen. That way I can easily mark waypoints and find contour lines to find those fish. Now, the way that I mount my electronics is pretty special, and that is another company that I use, TH Marine, like I explained, for the backup lights on my truck. I'll hop out of the boat for this one. This here is the TH Marine Kong KVD unit. This is, if I can screw it in for you guys, the most secure way to secure your electronics to your boat. It is a simple push down, twist, and like this, and your unit is not going anywhere. I mean, like, I can stand on these things, I can push them, pull them. A Ram mount's gonna move, any other plastic mount's gonna move, but a TH Marine Kong mount does not. And then up front I have a Kong Mini, just the same exact thing. I could tighten it down up here. And I've basically been able to stand on my 7-inch unit up front because of how strong the Kong unit is. So, pretty awesome little accessory. And one last little thing before we hop into the compartments of the boat themselves and look at how I organize my tackle for tournaments, for traveling, that kind of thing, I want to talk about the Hydra Wave. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with what the Hydra Wave is, hopefully you can see it on the camera right here. Hydra Wave is a super sweet system made by TH Marine that basically sends out fish sounds and bait fish sounds out of the top of your trolling motor into the water to elicit a feeding frenzy. And what that means is anytime you're fishing for fish that are feeding on shad, crawfish, that kind of thing, oftentimes a sound has been scientifically proven to show that it can actually make those fish more active and more likely to feed. And so I'll turn this thing on, especially when the bite is tough. I can turn it on feeding frenzy, bait blitz. There's all sorts of different preset sounds in this thing that allow you to send sounds into the water. And I've got a pretty cool story that I'll probably tell with my buddy JP one day. But the Hydra Wave drastically changed the way our tournament went. So this thing will be linked below as well. It is one of those accessories that every single pro on the Elite Series and FLW Tour runs, which means it's either a complete gimmick or it completely works. And in my opinion, it completely works. So that's all we got for the accessories. Let's hop into the compartments themselves. So the back compartments here of the boat are not super special. We've got gas tanks, batteries, power pole accessories, all sorts of random wires. So we're not going to go a whole lot deeper into the back compartments. But we are going to work our way to the front of the boat. So this is the two back compartments behind the passenger and the driver's seat. This compartment here I basically use for several different types of storage, whether it's a cooler on tournament days, whether it's my live well bag. I have some waters in here. I have some extra motor pieces that are in here and some tools. And so this is kind of one of my all-purpose little storage places right behind my driver's seat. That way I know exactly where the stuff is. And then on the other side, I use this storage compartment for majority life jackets. So I've got both the auto inflate life jackets and the regular life jackets for the bigger people that fish with me. And by bigger, I mean actually bigger in size. So on the back deck of the boat here, I have two live wells that allow me to keep my fish alive, both on tournament days and just fun fishing. It is two separate live wells. So a lot of you guys are familiar with Rangers and some other types of bass boats that have basically two sides, but they're actually shared water. This is two separate water compartments. And the first one here, nothing special in it. Just has, you know, space. But the second one is where I keep a lot of my Cool stuff. Now these here on the top of the boat compartment are the Marine Col Tags. Now what's cool about these is that when you are coaling in a tournament, you do not have to actually puncture a hole in the bass's mouth. All you got to do is clip this Col Tag around the mouth. It is non-penetrating, and in college tournaments and pro now, you actually are required to use non-penetrating Col Tags. So that is a pretty cool mention by TH Marine once again. And then in the back of the live well there, hopefully I can lighten it up there. Boom. I have an oxygenator that adds oxygen to the live well on that side and that side. I want to explain the coolest part, which is the front of the boat where I do all my work. So I have 4 main compartments in the front deck. A lot of newer bass boats have 5 or 6 main compartments, but this is an older boat that has 4 compartments, 2 on the sides and 2 right down the middle. I actually kind of like this version of how to organize tackle and rods on your boat deck. I see a lot of new boats that have 1 huge unit in the middle and 2 small ones on the side. Not exactly sure how I like that. I kind of like having more compartments as opposed to less. And so the first compartment that I'm going to explain is the compartment over here on the starboard side of the boat. And on this one, I keep some tackle. I keep my seat in case it gets wavy out there. I need a seat. I have my net. I've got some camera gear, and I've got, of course, some life jackets and my throwable life jacket. This is basically just a storage unit that's for stuff that can't fit in the storage unit in the back. Now, when I'm traveling, of course, I have more tackle than I do during most times of the year. So I don't usually have 5 or 6 tackle boxes in this side. It's mostly housed in the one directly underneath myself. So under this middle compartment here is where I keep most of my soft plastics and tackle. And of course, as I travel, it's a little bit different in terms of how I organize it. But usually, I have 2 of these boxes here, just regular, medium-sized Tupperwares that actually fit perfectly in this middle compartment. And then I have 5 or 6 slots that I put boxes in as well, and I'll show you guys what that looks like. So this is the area here that fits the 2 Tupperware boxes, and then on this side, I have 5 or 6 wooden slots that my dad and I custom built to actually fit tackle boxes themselves. And so, as you can see, I'm a mess right now. I've got all sorts of plastics. I've got the new Connect scale. I've got everything in here, just mumbo jumbo, but that's usually how I store plastics. And right up here, I have the TH Marine Tackle Titan, basically bait organizer. So with this Tackle Titan system, I'm able to, on tournament day, easily take off or put on lures based on a magnetized system. It is a super strong magnet that holds the lures even through the roughest of waves. And so I've loved having these things. As you can see, I have quite a few, probably too many, but I've got 5 or 6 strips of those, as well as some Tackle Titan right down there as well on the side. So up here in this compartment up front is usually camera gear, rain gear, stuff like that. But right now, it is actually 2 more of these boxes. And last but certainly not least, my rod locker. This here is a fairly large rod locker. It fits, I've fit like 35 rods in here before and about 28 reels. It can't fit 35 rods and reels, but it does fit quite a few rods and reels. This rod locker did come with a tackle management system straight out of the factory. So it actually had rod tubes on that end, and it had some rod holders like a W web design that basically the rods go into. But in order to fit more rods and have better ease of use to getting the rods in and out, I actually took those out. So now it's just the rods, the reels, and the rod stocks, which especially if you're gonna be taking rods in and out of your boat, they make putting your rods in and taking them out of the locker extremely easy, especially when you're like me and don't have any sort of organization methods in there besides just throwing them in. And at any point, I'll probably keep 15 to 20, 22 rods in the rod box at one time. I've got everything in here from my travels to Minnesota. And as I get closer to tournament season, the rods in here will all change orders, they'll all change which reels go on which rods. That way, I know exactly what I'm gonna throw on tournament morning. So I think that is it. I have gone over almost every single piece of this boat that I can. I love this boat. Her name is Pearl. Again, she has an Instagram that you guys can follow down in the description below. It is Our Lady Pearl. But I love this boat. It has been an incredibly awesome boat. The engine has hardly had any issues. The hull has 0 issues. The whole shot is fantastic. It runs super fast, and I've caught lots of big fish in it. So as I promised, I'm going to tell you guys the exact year model of this boat. This is a 2000. Now you may ask, Tyler, how in the world is this a 2000? This thing looks brand spanking new. I've had people at the ramp ask me, dude, sick new boat, where'd you get it? And I'm like, well, it's a 2000 model boat. So this is an 18-year-old boat. But the thing about boat storage that I want to kind of emphasize to you guys is that if you keep your boat outside in the wind, weather, rain all the time, your boat is not going to look as nice as if you do keep it inside. Now, I understand not everybody has a long garage to keep their bass boat in, and not everybody has a cover to put on their boat. But if you can invest in one of those 2 things, whether it's indoor storage or a nice cover for your boat, the boat's going to look so much better over the long run, and it's definitely going to help your resale value. Almost every time I use this boat, besides all the traveling I did this summer, I take it home, I park it in the driveway, I spray it off, I wash it down with soap, and I wash it back off with water, and I dry it off. That is why this boat looks so brand new, especially for a 2000 white model boat. So I sincerely hope that you enjoyed that video. I love taking you guys with me on my adventures, and this is an adventure in itself, showing you guys the tools of the trade that I use in my travels across the country to make fishing videos for you guys. So if you guys haven't joined the TRF team that's here on YouTube, Tyler's Real Fishing, my channel, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and notification bell as well, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Tyler's Real Fishing.